From hobby farmers to weekend gardeners and everyone in between, Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to make shopping more personal. Together, we're connecting over 2,200 stores with 5G business internet and powering AI so team members can match shoppers with products faster.
You're all set.
This is enriching customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
This is Doug Gottlieb from All Ball with Doug Gottlieb. Listen, I'm going to get serious for a minute and talk about something personal. The hate in our country is getting out of control. In fact, it's at an all-time high, and people are facing just too much hate. A lot of people don't think it's a problem. I can tell you I've experienced it firsthand. Living outside of the country in Russia, when my teammates found out I was Jewish, and at the time, granted this is 25 years ago, I couldn't get into the country of Dubai, they just treated me differently. I knew what they were saying in Russian because I could speak it, but they didn't know I understood that they were talking behind my back. Look, there's lots of examples of it, but it's going to take all of us to stop this sort of hate because we're all on the same team in this country. So let's take a break from our hate so our team can regroup and regain our momentum. We need to take a timeout against hate. Visit standuptoallhate.org to help. And join me in calling for timeout against hate by following the @WhatsUpWithHate or posting the blue square emoji. Standuptoallhate.org. That's the place to go if you want to help.
How difficult is it as the year goes on? You've got so many injuries. How difficult is it to put together, functional coverage units, special teams units, with all the injuries in it?
I think in general, from a special teams perspective, you're always trying to create flex for these moments when injuries happen. Sometimes it feels like maybe there's a season with more injuries than another. But I think that's always in the back of any special teams coach's mind is if something happens, how do you position your players to get your best 11 out there? So difficult, I don't know if it's necessarily that. It's just always having a plan beforehand, knowing that something will arise. To what magnitude, you never know until you're actually in it in the season. But I think there's, like I said, to mitigate any challenges, you have to do a good job in the off season with the guys that are here of just installing the scheme globally to where they can understand big picture, different positions. You also get a feel for players of who has ability to, who has the ability to learn multiple positions, and when they do, you ultimately create flex and you figure out, okay, if something happened, it's not necessarily the 2 on the depth chart that goes in. It's how do I mix the guys around to get the best 11. So
you're dealing with so many guys who just got here.
Yeah.
How much more difficult does it?
Yeah, no. I got 2 great assistants, and we got a great special team staff that will pour all the time that these guys need to get them ready. Whether they get here, a week before, a day before, our job is to get them ready and to make sure they're up to speed. I think one thing that helps when you don't necessarily have a ton of time to get them ready is you got to focus on what they've played in the past and try and put them in similar spots. Because obviously wherever they came from, they're in those positions for a reason. So and then you're figuring out the different pieces of moving guys around in terms of that.
Does the team look different when they have a special teams coach, kind of running the show there? And what do you think of that in general? And what do you his special team stands out to you?
Yeah, when you look at New Orleans, I think Rizzi has done a hell of a job his whole time there, whether he's the interim or whether he's just solely the special teams coordinator. You can tell that they're doing the same things. They still play very hard. So I got tremendous respect for how he gets them to play. And they do some things scheme-wise that challenges your rules to make sure that you're on point in terms of, who you got. But I think Rizzi has done a great job in terms of making special teams important in that organization, whether he was just special teams coordinator or now the interim. And you see no drop-off with that style of play that they're playing with in New Orleans.
Is it a tough road for a special teams coach to become a head coach? Because it seems that they always take a defensive coordinator, an offensive coordinator, and the special teams guy is, never picked.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know the numbers of how many special teams coaches get ops when it comes to head coaching opportunities or interview chances for that matter. But what I will say is, there's a lot of things that are synonymous as being a head coach as there are as just being a special teams coach. You're dealing with the roster globally and holistically, obviously. You're seeing injuries. You're figuring out how to piece, a full team together, a full unit. You're addressing the team in team meetings. So there's a lot of things that prepare you to be a head coach as a special teams coach. I'm not necessarily, I don't know the statistics of how many guys get opportunities, but I know there's great coaches in our league in terms of special teams that would make tremendous head coaches, Rizzy being one of them.
Didn't Harbaugh become a varsity?
Yeah, very versed with special teams before and did a great job there, and has obviously had a good. Say it again.
Belichick was a special teams.
Yeah, and honestly, like I've said it in the past. I think special teams obviously prepares you for the reasons I just gave, but also, you're coaching the most pure form of football. Everything you do from a special teams perspective is block technique, block destruction, ball skills in terms of returner play. A lot of the return philosophies stem off of offensive run game or, certain things that you're doing. So you become versed with just coaching football globally, offense, defense, kicking game when you have your hand in it.
With Eric Gray, the fumbles, what do you make of it? Is there something you see there? Is it something you're concerned about long term? How do you look at it?
Yeah, so there's all these studies, and we show our guys like when most fumbles happen, whether it's being in transition when you're losing your feet, or whether it's you're in traffic having a double in trouble. So there's a lot of situations in which different fumbles happen. The fact of the matter is, Eric knows that he needs to hold on to the football, but we got to do a better job of coaches of putting them in those situations where we see those fumbles happen, and creating muscle memory to where, if he knows he's losing his footing, well, that ball has to be high and tight because people come with deliberate shots of the ball in transition when he's going down on the ground. Or if somebody is going through traffic, we got to put them in positions in practice to where they understand it's double in trouble. People are obviously going to try and make the tackle, but also take shots at the ball. So from our perspective, we just got to make sure we're doing drills throughout the week and stay connected to it throughout the whole season. Is
there a common thread that you see for him, like any of those in specific or is it a variety of?
I think it's a variety. And basically what I'm saying is those fumbles happen from a variety of different positions that a ball carrier is put in. So it's our job as coaches to see what is the most common, I guess, position that they're in and create those.
For him, there was one common position you're looking at and say.
No, not necessarily, just because they all show up, and it all depends on where the run alley that he's hitting it in. And then obviously, sometimes there's a missed block. So how does that affect his run skill and his track? So that may create a different weakness or challenge. But again, like I said, it's our job as coaches to make sure that he's in those positions in practice.
Are teams targeting him? It seems like almost every return opportunity that you've had this year has been Eric.
I can't necessarily speak to the other team's intent when they're deciding which way to kick. But one thing that kickers do is they usually trust their kicking alley and the part of the area of the field that they want to hit. Eric has done a great job. He has. I know the fumbles stick out, but he has done a good job in terms of creating good drive start positions for our offense. Just last week, obviously in Dallas, that was an explosive play. He just has to hold on to the ball. The drive start there was pretty close to the 40-yard line, and he's had a couple of those. He's a tough runner. He runs with intent. You could tell the guys like him. He studies the right way, but sometimes those fumbles overshadow, the production that he is having consistently. But he has done a nice job, and the blockers have done a nice job in the past few games in terms of creating those run alleys.
I'm Peter Schrager, host of Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and the Season with Peter Schrager podcast. Whether you're ordering wings for the game or you're whipping up a 7-layer dip or you're ordering a pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food, no matter what you're craving. From 2-for-1 pizzas to buy one, get one wings to whatever it is you want, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week all season long. Uber Eats is the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now for game day. Terms and conditions apply, and see the app for details.
Get even more savings this holiday season by becoming a My Lowe's Rewards member. Don't miss new member deals dropping every week, like $15 off a purchase of $50 or more on select Bounty, Charmin, and Puffs paper products. Plus, get free standard shipping with Silver Key status. Just one more way, Lowe's is here to help you shop, save, and enjoy the holidays. Join for free today. My Lowe's Rewards program, subject to terms and conditions. Visit Lowe's.com/terms for details, subject to change, exclusions, and more terms apply. Visit Lowe's.com/shipping terms for details.